has gone forward with Stewart to the right, Lineker and Howes to the left. Is Gascoigne going to have a crack? He is, you know. Oh, I say! Brilliant! That is schoolboy's own stuff. Oh, I bet even he can't believe it. Is there anything left from this man to surprise us? That was one of the finest free kicks that this stadium has ever seen. Seaman got his...
Hello and welcome to episode 62 of Hitting the Bar, the football podcast. I'm Chris Karle.
And I'm Geoff Saunders.
Geoff, more football to talk about, but first, your trivia question.
Who are the first brother and sister to be selected to play for England?
Oh, that's an intriguing one. We'll find out later. But let's get started with this weekend's games. We'll get to your team, West Ham, and my team, Tottenham, very shortly. But first of all, Chelsea won away at Newcastle 2-0. A lot of people are saying, oh, could Tottenham win the league? But I think Chelsea are right up there with Liverpool now.
Well, I don't know. I don't think Tottenham or Chelsea have shown that they're consistent enough yet. Liverpool seem to be reacting extremely well to terrible injuries in their defence. I mean, it's decimated their defence. So the fact that they keep on winning, I think, is it's bad news for everyone else, I think.
All right, so we don't think that Chelsea have got what it takes, although, as I say, they beat Newcastle, who they're one of the most inconsistent teams in the league, aren't they?
Yeah, but they're drifting down the table, aren't they? They'll very soon be on the same number of points as games played, which is always the line between relegation and not. So I think they're regressing to the mean, as they say.
All right, so we don't think much of Newcastle United, but we're not sure about Chelsea. It looks like Kepa is going to have to take a wage cut and go and find a team that will play him. But it'll be no great loss for them, will they? Mendy seems to be having a great time for Chelsea, and that has been the difference.
Yeah, having a goalkeeper who can, catch the ball does seem to be a big improvement. I never subscribed to the view that there was a problem with Chelsea's defence. They conceded very, very few shots and very few shots on target. Their goalkeeper just kept letting them in. Mendy's a good goalkeeper, and he's not letting them in. I mean, Chelsea played well against Newcastle. They look good. I think they're looking better all the time. I still don't see them as being consistent enough to win the league. But maybe this is a season where consistency isn't going to happen.
We were doing a live radio show as that game was playing out, and we were in a bar because it was before bedtime, before our parents, the government, told us to go to bed. We were in the bar watching it, and from the screams and shouts from the Newcastle fans in the bar, it looked like Newcastle had quite a few shots and quite a few chances to go ahead and scuff them.
They had 3 or 4, and which went over the bar, and I think one might have hit the bar. They were quite rare and very late in the game when it was already decided.
Yes, I think Newcastle, along with a lot of other teams, have a problem with not having a striker. I think that's one of their problems. Aston Villa won Brighton 2. Lamptey got sent off towards the end, but it doesn't matter. Brighton had already won it by then. But that's a great away result for Brighton because Aston Villa have been very good, and of course they've got the wonderful Jack Grealish.
Yeah, it was an excellent result for Brighton, and they deserve it. The issue, that, as we've been saying throughout the whole season, is Brighton play very good football. They just need to score the goals, and this weekend they scored, so they ended up winning. One of the goals came from Welbeck, which is fantastic. It's great to see him come back and score. Let's hope he can stay fit enough to score a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of a little bit of a secret fan of Danny Welbeck. I kind of felt a little bit sorry for, because he's faded and disappeared. And when he scored, it was a nice warm feeling, I suppose, just to see him back on the score sheet. And you could see from his face just what it meant to him. I mean, he really celebrated that goal, and well done, because it's maybe a cruel thing to say, but he's now found a level where he can play consistently and get the goals that are the fuel for a striker. He's there with Lallana and Lamptey. He's got some good players around him. Maybe he's found his level.
I'm not sure about level. The issue with him was always injuries, and that he could never get an established run in a side, so we could find out what the level was. I was always convinced that he wasn't an international player, but he was a Premier League player. So, yeah, you might be right about level, but we've never seen the evidence that proves it one way or the other, to be honest, because of his injury record.
I mean, he did go down injured at one point during that game, and nobody was in the least bit surprised. but we hope he's okay. Well done, Danny Welbeck, getting a goal, but more importantly, well done, Brighton. Brighton are pulling themselves clear of what seems to be 3 teams that are already relegated. We'll come on to those in a moment, but we don't know who's going to be champions, but I think we can place a very, very solid bet on who's going to go down already. Let's have a look at the other games. The next game on the roster, as it were, was Tottenham 2, Man City 0. I'm a Tottenham fan, delighted by that. Bit of a park the bus situation from Mourinho. Some people said, oh, typical Mourinho. Others, particularly Tottenham fans, were saying it was he got it tactically right. At the end of the game, he was celebrating with all the players, and he went up to Højbjerg and sort of made a sort of angry beast face, because he was a beast that day, Højbjerg. And I think, maybe I'm a bit biased, but every Tottenham player really put in a shift that day. I don't think anybody could have been pulled out for not working hard, which you have to do against Man City. But Tottenham got, 4 shots and 2 goals.
Yeah, and that's the issue. And very like the newspapers do with the Wanderers, they're trying to push this narrative of Mourinho out-tacticked Guardiola, which is absolute crap. Spurs played the same way they played all season, same way they played last season, same way they played under Pochettino. They had 4 shots on target, they bagged 2 goals. Well, that's the deal in football. You've got to score when you're on top. Manchester City, kept them down to 4 shots on target, so their defence played very well. There is no evidence that Mourinho's tactics were better than Guardiola's. Guardiola's tactics, in fact, were much better. They conceded fewer goals and fewer shots on target, and they had more shots on target. It's just that Manchester City can't find anybody to score a goal when Aguero isn't on the pitch, and that's the start and finish of it. Kane doing his dropping deep into a number 10 role, he was doing that under Pochettino. It worked extremely well. They turned it into 2 goals. Brilliant, well done. But any narrative that says, oh, it was Mourinho out-tactic Guardiola is simply crap. Spurs took their chances, City didn't. That's the end of the deal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that there was any sort of genius at work there. I think it was a manager who knew his squad and he put them out to play, and they all knew what their jobs were, which you don't see with every team. And we'll come on to Arsenal in a moment. It might not have been a tactical moment of genius, but it was good management, and the team played well, and he put the players in the right positions, and they knew what to do, and they all worked hard for him and for the team.
Well, if Mourinho is the brains behind getting Højbjerg, then give him the credit, because Højbjerg is the difference in that Tottenham side this season to last. He's that glue that holds the midfield together, breaks things up, and starts attacks off. I mean, he's an exceptionally good player. But we knew this when he was 17, and he broke into the into the consciousness in Europe. Everybody knew what a great player he was and could be. His problem, again, like Welbeck before, has been several years of injuries. So if he can stay injury free, then he's going to be a superb acquisition.
Yeah, he's a no-nonsense player. Every team has to have that beast in the team. We've had it in the past. So, yeah, great. Højbjerg was brilliant. And I thought the whole team played very well. It doesn't have to always be fast, free-flowing football. It doesn't always have to be pretty. But it wasn't ugly. It wasn't a park-the-bus situation. I think you're right. It was just Tottenham playing as Tottenham do. He's now been at Tottenham for a year. He's not had a full season yet, what with lockdown and coming in after the 12th game. I believe it was yesterday. We're recording this on Tuesday. I think it was yesterday or the day before was a year exactly since his first ever game in charge of Tottenham. And I believe, Geoff, they beat West Ham.
Doesn't everybody?
Well, not recently, but we'll come on to that in a moment. But yeah, I thought Tottenham were very good. I don't buy into this we're going to win the league thing. I think 20 points is very, very good. If we, threw the game away against Everton, threw it away against West Ham, and I think drew with Newcastle, a couple of those results had gone the way they should have done, we'd have been well clear at the top. But I don't think we necessarily can say we're going to win the league. But I think we're going to put in a very good showing for top 4. But we've got some tough games coming up. We've got Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Wolves and Leicester all coming up in our next throw of games. That's going to sort it out. I mean, I did think Man City would be the one, but we seem to have disposed of them. There is a joke going round, and I haven't been able to see if it's actually a real quote, but there was a story going round that after the game Mourinho was told Man City had 66% of the ball, to which he replied, they can keep the ball, I've got the 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, I keep coming back to the Bill Shankly comment when he was interviewed on Parkinson in about 1972 or something. He said in every single football match, whether it's Liverpool playing Tranmere Rovers, and at this time Liverpool were winning the league every year and Tranmere Rovers were in Division 4, he said even in Liverpool versus Tranmere Rovers, there will be 10 minutes when Tranmere Rovers are on top, because that's football, and you have to score when you're on top. That's the secret. You've got to do it. City didn't, so they lost. Spurs did, so they won.
Yeah, there's no secret in it. There's no sort of special formula. They just worked hard and took their chances. And that is how you win the league, but I'm not saying that Tottenham will. I think there's a lot of other stronger teams as well.
It's much too early to say who's going to win the league. If you were forced to pick someone, you'd have to pick Liverpool because they have the track record and the track record of consistency to do it. And Tottenham and consistency tend not to go in the same sentence unless there's always not in there.
Yes, that has been our problem in past years, particularly under Pochettino, and I feel that is coming, that Spursy moment. Thought it was going to be Man City, having had such a nice run, but it wasn't. You mentioned there, that there are teams that will get a few moments in a match. West Brom were away at Man United. I had that down as 3-0 because obviously Ollie's got to have that bounce back again, keep win, lose, whatever it is, bad performance, good performance, and I had that down as a routine 3-0, and Man United scraped it 1-0 with a penalty, which was retaken.
Yeah, I had 3-0 for Manchester United as well. Bruno Fernandes match-winning penalty again. Yeah, their first league goal at Old Trafford in 324 minutes of football. The first, in fact, since the Bruno Fernandes penalty in the 6-1 defeat to Spurs last month. Take penalties out of it, and Bruno Fernandes only scores a third of the goals he scored, and Manchester United score hardly any. I mean, it was a terrible performance by Manchester United, and West Brom were extremely unlucky, considering the penalty was definitely debatable, and the retaking it was very, very harsh. We are where we are, and Manchester United winning penalties is not a surprise to anybody.
Do you think West Brom were unlucky? Did they put up a good performance? And what's happened to Pogba? Because he wasn't even in the matchday squad.
Well, Manchester United were better without Pogba, as they have been for a while. He adds nothing to them when he plays. West Brom were look at where they are in the league, and that's how well they played. Tells you how well Manchester United played. Manchester United can look good against teams which attack them. If you don't attack them, they haven't got a clue. They have no plan of how to break down teams who defend in a low block. So, and that's been the same for 18 months. This has not changed. Solskjaer has had 18 months to sort this out and failed to do it. Before him, Mourinho had time to sort it out and failed to do it. Now, Mourinho, as we know from players who have been coached by him, Mourinho does not believe in coaching attacking players. But it's situations like this where you need that. And, Manchester City against Tottenham. Manchester City ran through their routines and they created chances, just didn't put them away. Manchester United didn't even create anything. They had two shots on target. One in the first half from, I think it was Martial, one in the second from Rashford. 2 shots on target against a team at the very bottom who 99.9% certain to be relegated at the start of the season, and now 100%, I would think. They're clueless. Utterly clueless.
Yeah, dreadful Man United, really. Pogba not in the matchday squad. Talk about him looking to move, not being happy. That's kind of what he seems to do every time the team he's playing for aren't playing well, and he wants to go somewhere and win medals, but he has to be part of the team that wins it, and he's not putting in an effort. And I think Man United, they need somebody or something that does create, as you say. I mean, if Man United have only shot 2 shots on goal, there's something badly wrong.
No, I think if only they had a really good, creative, attacking midfield player like Donny van der Beek from Ajax. He's really good. Yeah, he'd be great. They should try and buy him.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing, isn't it? They bought him. Everybody went, ooh, because this was at the beginning of the season. That is possibly one of the best signings of the summer transfer window. As you said, Tottenham signed Højbjerg, which has been a revelation. But Man United's signing of Van der Beek, everybody went, oh, this is an indication that they mean business this season, and he can't get in the team.
I was one of those. I thought that is the best signing of the summer. That is exactly what Manchester United need. But they have to play Pogba if he's fit enough to play. That's the contractual situation. Good luck to them getting money for him if they want to sell him, because I don't know who's going to buy him, because his performances show that he's shocking. He's just not worth any money.
Rumour last week going round that Barnsley's chief executive or whatever had met with Mario Balotelli's agent to sign Balotelli for Barnsley. But I tell you what, I don't think even Barnsley put an offer in for Pogba the way he's played lately.
No, I mean, if you look at how they have played, Manchester United's big money signings, Maguire and Pogba, have been absolutely shocking. Not just this season, but for all of last season as well. Shocking. And that is part of the big problem. The other part of the problem is they don't have a coach who can sort it out.
Yeah, Solskjaer still not really doing it for me. You can see whether you like it or not. I know you don't, but you can see what Jose has done and is doing with Tottenham. I feel a difference from the Pochettino time. You can at least see what he's doing. You can definitely, of course, see what Klopp does and brings to Liverpool. You can even see what Sean Dyche brings to Burnley, who are underperforming. But you cannot see what Arteta is doing at Arsenal, and you cannot see what's... You don't say, oh, that's definitely a Solskjaer line-up there. You can see what he's doing.
Well, I agree. I think you can see a change with the groundsmen at the Wanderers, because they are more defensive, definitely. They are more solid defensively. But in terms of transition through midfield to attack, no, nothing at all. It's still, let's hope some of these clever boys can do something. You know, if being clever means lumping the ball into the middle to the centre-back's head, well, that seems to be all they managed to do. You know, the Wanderers were shocking the other night and incredibly lucky to get away with that draw against Leeds, who hit the bar and the post 3 times. And if they had a striker like, not even a Vardy or a Kane, but let's say a Danny Ings, they'd have got 3. Perhaps Patrick Bamford is not the answer as a striker. All those good things he gives you in the build-up and all that, which Bielsa loves, that's fantastic, but your striker's got to score 20 goals, and he's not going to.
We've watched Leeds a few times this season, and every time we've gone, what an exciting team to watch. They're really good, and they've got Premier League credentials. Apart from that most important thing, which is scoring goals. And they have scored, but they've let in so many because they're desperately trying to score, and everybody's up there trying to do it. They need a striker. They do need a striker. And if they had, as you say, against a very woeful Arsenal, 2 shots on goal, the first one coming after the 60th minute from, well, who else? Aubameyang. He must be now thinking, why did I re-sign? Why did I sign that contract?
Well, the answer to that is nobody came in to buy him, and they increased his wages considerably. So he and Willian are sitting there almost in the Mesut Ozil club, trousering a shed load of money in a team that isn't going to win anything and isn't even going to look good failing either. I mean, who was the most creative player for the Wanderers in that match? Hector Bellerin, the right back. He was their most creative player. Now, doesn't that tell you everything? What were the rest of them doing there? In a game of 34 shots, the Wanderers' total was 9, which is close to their seasonal average, by the way. It's a third of the total that Leeds did. That's what they are. And yet the journalists in the newspapers continue to push Arteta as being some genius. And by every single measure, Unai Emery in his first 27 matches was better.
A pretty pitiful game as well. I mean, Leeds did really go at Arsenal, but it wasn't a great game to watch. And Arsenal certainly weren't great. Pepe got a red card. A lot of people joking that he did it on purpose, so he didn't have to play with Arsenal for the next 3 games. However, it was a headbutt. I think the Leeds player made the most of it, but it was even off the ball. No reason to do it at all. Got himself sent off. Arteta said that he'd let the side down. I don't think they'd have won if he'd have stayed on the pitch anyway.
Leeds were better against 11, to be quite honest. Every time Leeds looked good, it had come as a result of the Wanderers attempting to go forward. So when they just have to get all 10 behind the ball and say, right, okay, it's attack v defence, what have you got? Because that makes it much more difficult. It's much easier to score against a team that's also trying to score against you. So yeah, I mean, Pepe did something well. I watch a lot of the NFL, and last night there was a situation in a match where a player did a similarly stupid thing. He hit an opponent, and the words from the commentators and the ex-players who were commentating was quite important. What they said was this: that player thinks he's more important than his team. Yes, the other guy's trying to wind him up, but you've got to think, if I hit him, the team will be punished by this. I'm not going to do that. So, like Pepe thinks I'm more important than the team, headbutts him, gets sent off, and the team suffer.
I mean, I suppose Leeds at the beginning of the season, if they were told they were going to draw with Arsenal, be it at home or otherwise, would have probably taken that point, but I think they should be probably disappointed at the end. Leeds 0, Arsenal 0. Arsenal down in 11th, I think. Sheffield United 0, West Ham 1. A player who scored, who very rarely seems to be getting games, Haller, proving his worth.
Oh, definitely. Haller is a 1 goal in 2 game centre forward, and he should be played all the time. He should be played with Antonio, and West Ham would be much better. West Ham deserved the win. The fact that it was only 1-0 was a problem. It shouldn't have been that close. I disagree with most West Ham fans here. I think Bowen should be dropped in favour of having Antonio and Haller up front. There isn't enough production action from Bowen. He runs around, lots and lots of energy, does lots of things. He's very like Willian at Chelsea, but not much actually happens. And I'd much rather see Antonio, who's got the movement and the speed, with Haller, and the two of them would terrify defences. Things in terms of results definitely going better for West Ham. We've got to do better than win 1-0 against a team that looked lost, to be honest. It was 3 points. The win, okay, fine, take that and move on.
All right, and champions Liverpool beat Leicester 3-0. A lot of reports on the BBC and other sports outlets saying Liverpool won with ease and looked extremely good, put Leicester in their place as far as title contention goes, and put it on notice that they are the team they were last season. Was it that easy for them?
That is a good description of it, but it wasn't easy at all. They do that because they work harder than everybody else. Everyone else is on notice. Despite having their defence absolutely decimated, they showed Leicester how to do it. And for me, the great thing was Milner's performance. Milner was just wonderful. He is a fantastic player. He's a great guy, apparently, and his performance the other night was superb.
Well, Klopp picked him out for special attention and special notice that he is now world class, blah blah blah, the usual things. But he was one of those players that we used to say, how's he ever get in the England squad? And he's proven, well, certainly I said it, and he's proven me wrong, because he's now becoming the complete player, isn't he?
Well, complete player, yeah, maybe. He's one of these players that's just a footballer. The coaches say, he'll do a job everywhere, which of course ends up penalising you in your career, because you're not a specialist. You never get automatically picked. You always get, we've got a problem here, let's put him in there. But I think Milner has suffered for that throughout his career, but he's always been good. He's always given 100%, and if he makes a mistake, he puts his hand up, says, yeah, that was me, sorry, we'll put that right, and he does. He's an excellent servant for a club. International player, I don't know, because you don't get enough matches in a row in internationals for the things that Milner does to become important. Each one is a one-off. Maybe you have a player like that on the bench. If somebody gets sent off and you need to rearrange, then yes, okay, you can bring him in and sort stuff out. But for a league campaign, Milner is fantastic.
Yeah, he's that jobbing footballer, like every jobbing actor. He's not the star of the show, he's not top billing, but you can't do without him in the team. Yeah, so maybe he did suffer from that, because he's not got this sort of star quality, he's got the sort of put him anywhere quality. Burnley 1, Crystal Palace 0, described on the BBC commentary as one of the worst games ever. Somebody writing in commented that really they were so bad, Burnley and Crystal Palace, both teams should be relegated now. I don't know if it was that bad, but Burnley got 3 points finally.
Yeah, Burnley's rise up the league started. They are streaky, aren't they? When they lose a lot in a row, and when they win a lot in a row. So let's see what happens. My money would be on Burnley staying up, I have to say. But one thing we forgot to mention when we were discussing the Wanderers was that 476 minutes have now passed since Arsenal scored a Premier League goal from open play, and that's under the maestro Arteta.
Everybody said it at the beginning of the season that obviously the title is open. There's been some great signings, etc., etc. Anybody could win the league. Certainly, top 4 is going to be hotly contended, and Arsenal will be up there. I don't see it now. I really don't. I think yes, Tottenham are very well known for being inconsistent and having those Spursy moments, and if we lose against Chelsea, we could go on to lose the next 4. But I don't think Arsenal have got it in them to challenge us for the top 4 now. I think they and Manchester United are dropping out of that race. I think Man City will rise up the table. They are below United currently, but I think they'll rise up. Whatever the opposite of I fear for Arsenal is, that's what I feel, because I think they might actually be knocking themselves slowly out of contention.
Yeah, I think the only thing that can really rescue them is that from sort of 3rd place down to about 16th, nobody's going to be very consistent. So almost anything could happen. One thing which did leap out at me in the commentary on the match between the Wanderers and Leeds was a comment by Gary Neville saying that when someone was talking about the amount of money that Tottenham have spent compared to the amount of money Arsenal have spent, and Neville saying, well, I don't understand why Arsenal haven't spent more. Well, Mr. Neville, here it is. The owner of Arsenal has just built the most expensive sports stadium in the world that cost him $5.7 billion, which is 2.5 times more than it was supposed to cost. That is where Arsenal's money has gone. Now, it's not a surprise. The stadium didn't appear overnight and then everyone go, oh, where did that come from? No, it's been going on for a long time, and people have known for a long time that Kroenke hasn't got the money to finance Arsenal in the way that the groundsman would like it to be. So there's your answer.
Yeah, so possibly Arteta's hands are a little bit tied, and he hasn't had the opportunities to buy players he did. But nevertheless, they have got a few players they've signed, and they re-signed Aubameyang and all that, and it was a big fanfare. And they've got Pepe. Well, not for the next 3 games. You said about the team sort of from 4th down or 3rd down being inconsistent. Well, here we are at Wolves 1, Southampton 1. 2 of those teams, Southampton having a flying start to the season. But those are 2 teams that will sort of level out, aren't they? And that was them being level, 1-1.
Yeah, they're going to level out round about where they are at the moment. Something between 5th and 8th, I think. They will both finish in that range. Yeah, along with Everton and West Ham probably. That's what we're going to get. What was fascinating yesterday was listening to the interviews after the match from the Southampton players and how much they love Hasenhüttl. They love him and they love playing for him, and they were saying it and you could see it in their faces. He's really instilled something very special there. So that maybe the challenge for Southampton next season is going to be keeping their manager.
Yeah, it's not often you get that, is it? It's normally when will the manager be sacked. Southampton drew away at Wolverhampton. That's a good point for Southampton then. Not points dropped.
Yeah, definitely, and I think if Wolves had changed their way of playing just a little bit, it could have been quite different. Wolves, certainly this season and for most of last, have been attacked much more in the second half. They tend to take the first half looking at what's happening in the game and taking any opportunities, and become very much more proactive in the second half. If they just kept feeding the ball to Traore, then they could have won that game, I think, because he's dangerous every single time he got the ball, and Southampton struggled to keep a hold of him. Bertrand couldn't do it on his own. It had to be Bertrand, and Vestergaard had to double team him all the time, which means ergo somebody else is free somewhere else. Quite why Wolves sort of choose to be sort of quite passive in the first half, I'm not sure. And Southampton a very well drilled start to finish and did a great job. A good result for them. Wolves have got to feel they dropped 2 points.
Yeah, 2 teams there, I think. And of course, I'm a Tottenham fan, so anything I say about Arsenal might be tinged with bias and not necessarily fact. But Wolves and Southampton possibly 2 teams competing with Arsenal for a Europa League place.
Yeah, you'd have to say that at the moment they're better and better value for that Europa League place. Yes.
Before we move on to our predictions for the next round of games, I just wanted to mention, we mentioned it on the radio show, the sports show we do on a Saturday for 93.6 Global Radio here on the Costa del Sol. We mentioned that last week in Brisbane, what is in Australia, they had a rugby cup final. I think it was a cup. Geoff can explain that. At which there were over 52,000 people present. Obviously, their lockdown has worked out differently than other places in the world. This week, the government of the UK announced they hope to allow fans back into open-air sporting events by Christmas, with a maximum of 4,000 per event, only in particular areas. That'll be the south of England, of course, but that means that fans can go back into football stadiums. It's just beggars belief. What does that even mean?
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and it shows what utter crap this whole thing is. They should go back to, you can have as many people as you like in the stadium, and it isn't going to make any difference to the number of people who die from this virus, one way or the other.
The whole thing is hypocritical, for me anyways, that, when people could only meet 5 of their friends for a barbecue in the open air, you could, if you went grouse hunting or fox hunting, you could go in groups of 30. And you can go to the theatre and you can go to see an orchestra, but you can't go and see football. If anybody can't see class war there, I don't know what you're looking at.
And of course, you for some reason you're allowed to go to church. I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. It's a farce, the whole thing.
Let us back into the stadiums to watch our football. All right, let's have a little look at what's coming up this weekend. Strangely, and I thought about this last night when I was watching the commentary for the Crystal Palace game, and they say, what's coming next? Crystal Palace, having played on Monday, are the first game to play this weekend, and they play on Friday. It would seem to me if you played Monday, you would be on the Saturday roster. But there we are, Crystal Palace against Newcastle on Friday.
Yeah, why don't they have a roster? Why don't they say if you play Monday, then next week you play Sunday, next week you play Saturday, and just roster it round? Because is different TV companies have different matches. We've handed the game over to the TV companies, and basically nobody wanted that game. Yeah, it's nonsense, and football's got to take back control of this and say, as part of their negotiations next time, look, we will put up the schedule. You choose what you want to watch. Yeah, 2-0 to Palace. I'm
going to go for 2-1 to Palace. Brighton against Liverpool is the early game on Saturday, a game at 12:30 kickoff in the UK, a game that, talking of scheduling and TV rights, both Frank Lampard, who was the early game last Saturday and won it, and Jurgen Klopp are among people saying scrap the early kickoff, because if you played in Europe on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, getting up early and getting to the ground, home or away, for a 12:30 kickoff is wrong. Let's scrap it. There's plenty of other time slots available. Possibly they've got a point. It does get people into pubs early, and it does get people up early watching it, I suppose. That's all about the money. But Brighton against Liverpool, I suppose it's how many will Brighton lose by?
Yeah, 3-0 to Liverpool.
All right. 3-0 to Liverpool. Man City, it's another 3-0, I think. Man City against Burnley. I mean, you said once Burnley start winning, but now they're up against City.
Well, it depends. If Aguero plays, City win 2-0. If Aguero doesn't play, I could see Burnley coming away with a 1-0.
Oh, that would be very, very interesting. That would mix things up a little bit. Another game that I think looks quite exciting on paper, Everton against Leeds.
Yeah, I'll go for yet another 3-3.
3-3, Everton 3, Leeds 3. Well, they do have those sorts of results, Leeds, don't they? And Everton have been winning and losing and scoring and everything. All right, I'm going to go for 2-2. And a game that could be absolutely dreadful, West Brom against Sheffield United.
Oh, God, you can't have minus scores, can you? Oh, I don't know. 1-0 to Sheffield United.
Yeah, I think so. Southampton against Manchester United. Now, if the Man United that played last week turns up, then I think Southampton could have that.
I think Southampton should be very, very difficult to beat by Manchester United. So, let's assume that Manchester United get a penalty, because they always do. 2-1 to Southampton.
And then also on Sunday, a game I'm absolutely fearful of. Chelsea-Tottenham. Chelsea are at home. Chelsea are on form. Tottenham on form but inconsistent. I always feel it's very nerve-wracking being a Tottenham fan. Even when you're 2-0 up, you just can't relax. And against Chelsea, who in the past we'd have had some very ding-dong battles and very aggressive battles. I don't even want to call that one, but I can't see Tottenham coming away with 3 points.
3-1 to Chelsea.
That's you off my Christmas card list. Arsenal against Wolves. I'm going for a draw.
2-1 Wolves.
All right, 2-1 to Wolves. Let's hope so, Jeff. Let's hope so. Leicester against Fulham. Got to be Leicester, hasn't it? And Fulham are down, aren't they?
Oh, Fulham are down. I mean, they were down when the whistle went in the final of their playoff game. Yeah, Fulham's woes with penalties continued in the last match. 2 matches ago, it was the dreadful Panenka. This match, the bloke kicked the ball against his own ankle and the ball went over the bar. And everyone wondered why was the referee pointing for a free kick? Of course, if you kick the ball against your own ankle, it is an indirect free kick. The 2 worst penalties of the season so far. It's something Fulham can win. If they get another penalty and manage to screw that up, they might get all 3 for the season. No, they're going to lose by at least 2 goals.
Yeah, I think so. West Ham against Aston Villa. Again, potential to be an exciting game.
Yeah, I think 2-2.
So that's a draw. West Ham against Villa. Yeah, that could have a draw written all over it, really, I think. All right, those are the scores. Those are our predictions. Do not place a bet on any of those predictions. If anything, do the opposite.
Apart from Fulham missing a penalty if they get it. Put a bet on that.
Yeah, that seems to be quite a consistent thing. That's nearly all we've got time for. But first of all, the answer to your very intriguing trivia question.
Right, okay. The question was, who are the first brother and sister to be selected to play for England? And the reason I said selected is they were selected to both start in their matches, but one of the matches was actually called off, supposedly because of this virus. The answer is Reece James of Chelsea and his sister Lauren, who's 19 years old and who plays for Manchester United. Both selected to play for England in the same week.
I could imagine them being very competitive siblings when they were young.
It's much bigger than that. There are 2 other brothers who've also played professional football as well, and they all used to play in the family garden, and she held her own against those 3 boys.
Brilliant. Well done to her, and well done to that family. Fantastic. That's all we've got time for. I'm Chris Karle.
And I'm Geoff Saunders.
And that was Hitting the Bar, the football podcast.